Kasra, how you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for chatting with me. I'm excited to talk to you because you've worked in various departments on Marvel titles, from Thor, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and now this is your first time directing with Marvel with episode 3 of Loki's second season. So I'd love to hear about the experience, how it feels to finally direct one of these and get it out there in the world.
It feels great to finally climb my way up to that point. It's a joy. Um, no, it was a lot of fun, and it just worked out so that, like, in season one we had such a great chemistry between all the departments, and there was a really great kind of conversation and collaboration between the brilliant writers team led by Michael Waldron and with Eric Martin in there, and the art department in terms of contributing to the world building and specificity of some of the locales that the story takes place, all with Kevin Wright and Michelle Blood, our EPs, kind of collaboration as well. It just worked so well in season one that they very kindly asked me to participate in the writer's room on season two. And so it was great to be there from the beginning on a lot of this, like pitching and participating and coming up with the kind of essential ideas of the season. And so, yeah, it was just a pleasure still further when Kevin asked me if I wanted to direct one of the episodes. So that was great.
Nice. We're only halfway through, but I am going to ask, being in that room, how would you summarize the central idea of this season of Loki?
That's middle of the season. I feel like I can't say.
We'll check in 3 weeks.
Yeah, check in 3 weeks, and then I'll give you an answer on that. But it's about, the thing I can say that I think you can see already is it's about the growth of the character and the maturing of Loki. Like Tom has embodied this character for a really long time now. And as it happens, I worked on Thor 1 myself. So I've been there from the start with that. But Tom has evolved and refined and created this super rich and textured and now layered version of Loki that is an amalgamation of all the Lokis that came before it, where it's like Loki has this phrase. He says, "I'm burdened with glorious purpose." And I've always thought of the Loki from pre Loki series, the Loki from the movies, as preoccupied with glorious part of that phrase. And in the first season of the show, he's preoccupied with finding purpose, I think, and whereas in this season, he's taking on a lot of burden in terms of keeping things together, keeping the TVA together so that it can protect these timelines and protect the lives of all of these people. So I think you're seeing this kind of, like I was saying before, this rich, layered, more mature and sophisticated older version of Loki now, who has all this wisdom.
And it's crazy to believe this is a character that's only a week out of trying to take over New York City, if you think about it. I love that. I love it because, he saw his life and it accelerated his growth. And now, like you said, I love this version of the character we're seeing in season 2. You have to direct another version of a character with a Kang variant. For the first time, we meet Victor Timely in this episode. You're the first person to direct this version of that character. I'd love to hear, what did you want the audience to take away from this version of Kang in an alternate timeline?
Sure. I mean, I think the first and foremost goal was to really take advantage of and milk the tension of the mystery around who this Kang variant was going to be. We knew that there was going to be a Kang variant, and we even knew when and where we could expect to see him. But what we didn't know is what his nature would be. And so it was really fun to keep this character shrouded until that last moment where you get to finally see what he's about and hopefully subvert some expectations. And Timely was such a fun character to work on and to help to build with the other writers and the other directors, and of course with Jonathan. And he's he's this like Einstein-like figure, this figure who's brilliant, ahead of his time. He probably had a ton of potential, but then when Miss Minutes and Renslayer dropped this book into his life in his childhood, it like just puts him on this this crazy trajectory to becoming this super advanced person. And so, like so many of those people, like he's operating at a level higher than most people. And so as a result, he's sort of awkward at the more basic level of human interaction. And we wanted to see that charm and quirk and that disarming quality of him combined with his brilliance. But there's also this level of like a con man in him. And I in my mind, I think of that as coming right out of like what the experience of being a black man in the late 19th century in this country probably required if you're trying to operate at a business level, on an invention level, and trying to like get into that. You probably had to use your wits a lot and probably had to just be clever on your feet. And also on top of that, some of these cons come out of the fact that his brilliant ideas, which are bona fide and are truly brilliant, they can't be executed with the primitive technology of 1893. So he's just like, they're like placeholders until he can get the tech he really needs to make this stuff for real.
Yeah, man, I've seen episode 4. I'm not going to say anything here, but it's good where that character goes. What you guys set up here, it's awesome. I want to talk about your production design. One big popular thing. First of all, I want to compliment your production design. It's incredible on Loki. But there's one popular detail in the TVA with those doors, and people may have already asked you this one. Yeah. Is that intentionally an X-Men reference to Cerebro, or is that just a coincidence?
No, I haven't. I don't even know the doors people are talking about, honestly. No, it's not. It's the doors were inspired by. We're looking at a lot of subterranean missile bunkers, missile silos from the Cold War era. There's some like insanely heavy fortified doors in those bunkers, and that's where that's coming from. Yeah.
That makes sense. You also got to direct the scene where we get a confirmation of Balder the Brave. Yeah. And I would love to hear, I mean, I remember Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was like this close to having Balder the Brave featured in that. So when you guys were developing Loki season 2, which I imagine was in close timing with Doctor Strange, was there ever a thought of like, all right, we'll have Balder here and then we'll have a reference to him in Loki? How'd that come to be? And were there any other characters that almost made it into Loki season 2?
Not that I can recall, but what I can tell you that you might be interested to know, as somebody who worked on Thor 1, is that there was a brief moment at the very beginning where Balder was in Thor 1 in the script at the very, very beginning. But no, I mean, listen, this is what that scene is about, is like, it's about trying to do a few things. Number one, yes, it's a Balder Easter egg, which is super fun, but it's a lot about, and of course, the joke of the fact that like Thor and Odin are up there, and you'd expect the third statue to be Loki, but it's Balder. That's the kind of the big headline there. But it's also about reacquainting us all and reminding us all, including Loki himself, of this notion that he is not just somebody who works at the TVA. He's a god. He's a god, and that he has this intense, rich power and potential within him. And then the third element was like the midway of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. If you look at it historically, they brought all these different cultures from all over the world together. And some of the ways they were depicted was a bit reductive and problematic, honestly. And so we wanted to create this diorama and have Loki say that it's a pretty reductive thing to do, to distill an entire culture into this basic diorama, which was like a funny thing. And the way they basically did the whole midway.
Yeah, I mean, the World's Fair, I know that was the biggest set you guys have ever created, and it looked so immersive and awesome. My last question for you, because we go back to the end of season 1, essentially, with the end of this episode, because we go to the Citadel at the end of time, where we see He Who Remains, his corpse there. Did you guys have that set still built? Did you have to rebuild anything? Was it just going back to the season 1 locations? How did you guys pull that off?
Yeah, we saved sets from season 1, and season 1 was photographed in it, and everything was built and photographed in Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S. And season 2 we made outside of London in the UK. So we had to bring over the sets, that chrono monitoring, all the sets that we reused, we brought over, but we saved them. Of course, when you see the Citadel in 203, you see that it's in a ruined state. So we had to do a lot of work to it to bring it about.
Interesting. I mean, and at the end of that first season, when you did go there, that was such a left turn from the rest of what we had seen. Did you get to go a little crazy in the back half of season 2?
We get to go crazy in every episode of the season, I think,
Hey, man, you're so talented. You and your team, you guys are incredible. Congratulations on the directorial debut with Marvel. You've directed elsewhere, but you did a great job here as well. And thank you so much for the time. Hope to talk to you again sometime.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.